So
That's
welcome everyone. This is the Monday edition, our hair edition, and we are joined by our resident expert. She is a trichologist with over 50 years of experience. She's actually the founder of the, excuse me, Spectrum International Beauty Expo. She's a sought after trainer. She is asked about her expertise from every corner of the country and soon to be the world, ma'am. She is an instructor, so she is bringing in the next wave of professionals. But what's great about Doris is that she stays on the cutting edge of everything. And now that she has started Healing Hair Days, it's a phenomenon that's sweeping across the country. She has been very, very successful in creating something out of ether. I mean, it's been fantastic to see you do that. And I love that about you, Doris. You don't have a challenge, you have an opportunity to recreate. And I love what you're doing. So, without any further ado, Doris Mosley.
Thank you, Kathy, and to each and every one of you who took out of your busy schedules today to come on to learn more. And the only way you can earn more, you got to learn more. And Kathy, we're in Orange. Did you just decide to look in my closet today
I must have,
to
I
see
tell
that
you,
we were so
this
matched?
is my this is my Nike Just Do It shirt.
I heard that. That is great. Yes. I am challenged today for some reason. So you guys just send up some prayers. I'm having anxiety. I had to actually chew a gummy to try to come. I don't
well,
know
you
whether it's from, I don't know, but
Well,
today is
Doris,
one of the,
I know that today you're talking about the hair strand, so I know you know everything there is to know about the hair strand, the follicle, the scalp. So
yeah,
please know that you are at home and we are here with you, but we are ready to learn about the hair
thank
strand.
you.
So you go ahead and take it away.
Yes. And you know what motivated me to share this with you guys today? I was at a hair show a few years ago, and the company Reckons had built $1 million strand of hair that we could walk through. And every area where you came up on one section or one um, part of that hair, it actually told us what was happening. So it came into me. I was like, you know what? We talk about the hair, we talk about the follicles, basically, is all we talk about. I said, let me just share the journey of that strand of hair because it is a lot going on before that strand peaks up above the epidermis, which is where we get to see it, feel it, touch it. But before that, it's a lot of things goes on beneath the epidermis. And I'm just going to start out with the bottom and bring it on up through the epidermis, which is your top layer of skin. So we look at the capillaries. And if you know the function of the capillaries are those little tiny, tiny, tiny vessels that takes over once the artery and veins run out, the capillaries takes over. And dealing with a strand of hair, how minute it is, it got to be something tiny, tiny, tiny that takes over. And it's the capillaries. And then we have what we call the papilla. The papilla is the mother of that strand. Now, we got to have mothers in order to reproduce. So the papilla is the mother of that strand. And it is also, you can find the matrix there. And the matrix is the mother of the nails. And so it's amazing. And that's where you find all your nerves, your blood vessels in the papilla. And the papilla, again, is known as the mother. Then we have that hair bulb. When we pull out the hair, we say, well, you pull my hair out by the roots. Yes, that's what that bulb is. It is connected, it's a part of the root, and it is under the skin. It's not above. You may pull it out, and you see that little white bulb. Well, that little white bulb indicates that you have upset some things there, but it will grow back. That it definitely affects the follicle, but it doesn't kill the follicle. It does grow back. and that's the bulb. And again, it's connected with again a lot of the nerves, a lot of the blood vessels. That's what's beneath that. Then we have the hair follicles. The hair follicle is resting right at the surface of the epidermis, like anywhere from 3.3 centimeters all the way to 4.5, I believe, centimeters beneath the scalp. So that's why we talk about the follicle a lot, because we have to be very careful how we attack the scalp, because the follicle is there, and we don't want to kill off the follicles, because if you do, then there won't be any hair left. Okay, then we have the hair bulge, which is where the outer root sheet is. Now we have, you see that ORS, that means that it's the outer root shaft sheet. And then we have the IRS. Now don't be confused about the bad three brothers, but the IRS is the inner root shaft. And then we have the erectile pili muscle. So all of this is in the base of the that hair strand, and all of this make up what happens when it comes above the scalp. So we're only familiar with it basically when it comes above the scalp, but there's a lot happening beneath the scalp before it get to that point. So we also have attached to that strand is an erectile pili muscle. Now the erectile pili muscle, you know, when somebody said, "Oh, you frightened me so my hair stood up on my arm," or "I'm so cold, my hair." Well, that's what that muscle is for. It stimulates, it's an involuntary muscle. So when you see that, if you get frightened, and especially in cartoons, you know, you can really see stuff when they bring it out in cartoons, when they get scared and cold, it definitely brushes that follicle to stand up. And the sebaceous gland. The sebaceous gland is where the sebum, which is the oil that the body produces from each strand, there is an erectile pili muscle attached to it, and there is a sebaceous gland that's attached. And the sebaceous gland secretes the oil, the natural oil that comes up through the scalp. That's why it is so important that we make sure that those pores are cleansed and deep cleansed, so the toxin of the body can get out through the pores, and the hemp powered hair oil can get in, so we can help keep that follicle alive and healthy. And that's very important. So remember, you have the IRS, the inner root sheet, and then you have the ORS, which is the outer root sheet, and that is around that follicle and in the area of the bulb and all of that. All those things are very important when it comes to healthy hair. And then we have the shaft. Now, what is the shaft? The shaft is that strand that you now see above the epidermis. Now, the shaft has 3 parts to it. And when people say, "Doris, don't forget to color my roots," or "Don't forget to press my roots," I kind of chuckle and I say, you know what? The root is beneath the scalp, beneath the epidermis. Do you really want me to press your roots or color your roots or relax your roots? Then they have to laugh, because there's 3 parts to the shaft. And the 3 parts to the shaft is the cuticle layer, the cortex layer, and the medulla. Now, let's look at the cuticle layer. The cuticle layer is that protective layer. It is like the windows and doors to the other 2 layers. It is a protection. If that cuticle layer is broken, then you're going to have some challenges. Now, you can only see what I'm sharing with you through a microscope. I don't go beneath the scalp, because you can only do that with a biopsy and looking at it through an ultrasound. So I am above the scalp, and above the scalp is the cuticle layer, the cortex layer, and the medulla. Now, the only way you can see what I'm sharing with you now is with a magnifying scope. And the cuticle layer, if you could see it, you will see that it looks like shingles on a roof or scales on a fish back. The scales, like you see how tight, if you've seen a live fish or even a dead fish that had not been cleaned, you can see how tight those fish scales are. Or if you look at a roof, you can see how they layer those shingles on the roof. Well, that's the protection. And hair itself is a protection for the body, okay? That's why we have hair, it's because it's a protection. But when you look at the cuticle layer, you're actually looking straight into the cortex layer because the cuticle layer is transparent. There is, that's why we have to clean. That's why the renewing shampoo is so important because we cleanse the cuticle layer so we can really get a good look at the cortex layer. The cortex layer is a layer that really has everything going on. If you can dissect that cortex layer, then you will find your protein. And protein is that is the keratin. That's what protein is. It's a soft, it's spongy-like. That's what the cortex layer is all about. And it gives the strength. It gives the color. You can see the color. It gives the strength, and its elasticity of it is good. And so it gives the flexibility. That's the cortex layer. And if you could really look in that layer, it will look like, if you could remember back in the old days when they had, and they probably still have them, the mattresses that have those coils in it. Well, that's what it would look like if you could see inside the cortex layer. It will look like those coils in a mattress. And that's why the cuticle layer have to stay intact so it can protect that cortex layer. Because when you're looking at the hair, you're looking absolutely at the cortex layer because the cuticle layer is transparent. Also, what allow you to get into the cortex layer? It got to be a chemical. A chemical, oops, sorry about that, you guys.
You're muted now, Doris. You missed and muted yourself. Unmute.
Did I unmute? Okay,
Yes, you
great.
did now. Yes, you were talking about the cuticle layer. Go ahead.
Okay, the cuticle layer allows you to see into the cortex layer, but you cannot see it with the naked eye. It has to be dissected and looked at under a magnifying scope to see what's happening with the cortex layer. Okay. Now I said, how do you break that cuticle layer to get in? The way you break it is through a chemical, either through relaxers, through permanent wave solutions, or color. That opens up the cuticle layer and allow it to go in. Now, if you're doing color, temporary color does not go that just lie on the surface. If you got semi-permanent color, it goes under just a little bit. The molecules are so large, it does not penetrate. Now, if you have permanent color, the molecules are so small, that's how it gets in. So that's where the melon, you will find that to be called melon, which is your color. Then you have the medulla. The medulla is not always present in the hair strand, but if it is, it gives the hair strand more thickness, okay? And it's responsible for movement, but not all the time it's there, okay? So that's why when we came with our shampoo, we had to come with a shampoo that will cleanse that cuticle layer so it will allow us to have that shine that we needed. It allowed us to see the color of the hair and with such vibrant shine and strength. I always say to people, you can't keep conditioning over conditioner because what it does, it dulls out the hair. So that's why our renewing shampoo is so awesome. And now we even shampooing the body with it. Because remember, you were born with how many follicles? 5 million. Over 100,000 made it to the head. So you can wash your body now with our renewing shampoo. Isn't that amazing? And then we have our detangler. And I stress all the time with people, please do not comb your hair from the scalp to the ends, because if you do, you are causing more damage by breaking it off. We have a detangler that we spray onto the hair to make it easy to comb out. That's very important. But we also have, I always say it's the baby, but it's actually the mama of the SOS system, and that's the hemp powered hair. Now, if you don't have your hemp powered hair, you may be challenged down the road. And when I scope, and Sunday I was at a healing hair day, and as I scoped those ladies, they were shocked to see what they scalp looked like. And one lady said to me, Kathy, she said, I just shampooed my hair before I came here. But I tell you, you have to have the right type of shampoo. Just shampooing not enough. And she was so shocked to see. But when I scope, you guys, I scope for clogged pores, I scope for the distance between the follicle, and I also scope for inflammation. And when I see that, I know then they are on their highway to hair loss. It's time to detour. And detouring means you got your Akana SOS system. That's very, very important. And our hemp powered hair oil, once you deep cleanse those pores and get all those dead cells off the scalp, now you can get the product in. Because most people start out with that itchy scalp. And I'll tell them, you don't need to have an itchy scalp. You need hemp powered hair. It has black seed oil. That helps eliminate that. You can also know that peppermint oil in there stimulates the blood circulation. The blood is what actually nourishes that follicle and allow that follicle to stay healthy, gives it the strength it needs. But if you're not taking care of what needs to happen, and on Sunday sharing with them about the flat belly lifestyle, those people were so excited because they know you have to clean up the body, get the body healthy in order to get the results that you're looking for. And everybody's looking for great results. So when you got the cinnamon oil in there, that cinnamon oil, guess what? It helps get rid of those free radicals. It's an antioxidant. And then we have in our pumpkin seed. Pumpkin seed get rid of inflammation. One lady said, how do I get inflammation? Inflammation comes through what you put in your mouth, your sugar, your carbohydrates. Eating for your blood type help get rid of all that. And so most people didn't even know their blood types, Kathy. So I was like, we got to get the scanning team down here or out here quick so we can get people on board to know that they don't have to suffer because of lack of knowledge. Akana is bringing the heat, bringing the knowledge. And let me tell you, if you're not on board, it's not going to happen. And to walk through the strand of hair, knowing that it does not happen just when it gets to the epidermis and above. That's where the follicle is, closely to the epidermis. It's happening deeper than that. It's even going down into the subcutaneous layer where it is happening and bringing and making everything healthy. Pull it. I used to think when you pulled that bulb out, that was it. No, that's not it. But it does affect the follicle, but it does grow back. Depending on the health of the body, it depends on how long it takes. We even have CBD infused in our product in the SOS system. And so you know what CBD does? It brings the body back into balance. So if you guys are waiting or sitting on the fence trying to make that decision whether or not you feel you need the SOS system, don't sit on the fence any longer. Invest. If you have a stylist, get the stylist on this call on Monday. And if you don't have a stylist, you get the product and use it. If you do have a stylist, get the product and take it in there. She may become one of your distributors once she see how well it works for her. If anyone got to have any questions or hand raised, I'm here for them. I don't know what else I can say about that strand. When I walked through it myself, I was amazed at the show that day that we have a lot beneath the scalp going on before the hair get out of the epidermis. So that's very important. If there are any questions, I will take those now. Kathy, are you out there? Hello? I guess I can't see. Okay. You guys can continue to hear me. Kathy's having some actual difficulties, but if you have any questions, just put them in the chat, and when she come back in, she'll get them to me. But in the meantime, questions are being asked whether or not if you lose. Oh, there also, when I was scoping, I seen that some people had more than one strand of hair coming out of a pore. That's not an unusual, but that's just like having twins or triplets, okay? When you look at a pore, and you really can't see that without being scoped, that there more than one strand sometimes comes out of a pore. So you have to be, just get excited that it's even thicker, but that's not the norm. The norm is usually one strand out of a pore. And like I said, again, there's a lot of things happening beneath the scalp that we didn't even think about. Like the fact that blood, when the veins and arteries get to the point where they no longer could go, the capillaries takes over. And the capillaries are those little tiny, tiny vessels. Then we have, like I said again, we have 3 parts to hair. Now, does it hurt when we cut hair? No. Does it hurt when we pull it? Yes, because the nerves are lying beneath the scalp also. So when you pull hair, that's when you feel it. Not to cut it, not to put heat on it, not to put cold. All of that is from the nerves, not from the hair. We can cut it off and throw it in the trash. It will never say anything or bother us. But we need to know how to properly shampoo the hair, the scalp, how to cleanse the hair, because now you know there's 3 parts to the hair, and the cuticle layer is that defense layer. It's the protector. It's just like your windows and doors of your home. If those were not locked or closed, you will not be protected. Someone could come right in and walk right out. And that's how it is with the hair. Now, if you damage that cuticle, which is your protective layer, you will end up, when you put color will just wash right out, because you have a lot of missing cuticle. The cuticle is missing, no protection, okay? So that's important, that you know that when you do chemicals, you're disturbing that cuticle layer. You're opening it up for the product to get in. And when it get in, that's where you find your coils, which is your links, which also gives that hair the movement. That's where your color lies. That's where everything happens at, really, in the cortex layer. Because sometimes the medulla layer is missing. But this is the strand of hair, and this is called the hair shaft. Okay? Now, I don't know whether Kathy got back in, but if she is in, and if there are any questions from you guys, make sure you have them in the chat so Kathy can give them to me when she comes back in. Something is going on with her computer. So you got in also in your hemp powered hair, you have um, an lemon oil. Now, lemon oil is key because what it does, it helps cleanse that scalp. It helps cleanse that shaft. That's important. Then we got to be healthy. So in our hemp powered hair, we have moringa. Moringa oil is that oil that makes sure the body becomes healthy. Along with baobab gives us our iron. It gives us our vitamin C. You need that. You definitely need that to make it happen. And also rosemary. We talk about DHT. DHT uh, is definitely a no-no for the follicle because what it does, it chokes out the nutrients and it causes that hair strand to become vellus. And when it becomes vellus, it means that it is being deminiaturized. And eventually, again, you end up losing that strand of hair. Now, once you lose the follicle, then you have lost. It's absolutely, there won't be another hair strand there because the follicle is that is what houses that hair and gives nutrients to that hair before it's birthed up to the epidermis. So we got to be very careful how we treat the scalp that we don't damage the follicle. And a lot of time, traction, if you're familiar with traction alopecia is where the hair has been pulled too tight, where the hair has been in those stationary styles too tight, where the hair is being braided with that plastic hair too tight. All of that is just stress on the follicle. And eventually the follicle loses. So how do we use our hemp-powered hair? Our hemp-powered hair, and again, rosemary is a DHT blocker, if I didn't say that. Rosemary is a DHT blocker. But how do we use our hemp-powered hair? Our hemp-powered hair is used to 3 times a week. Now, 3 times a week is when it's used. And how do you use it? You use 5 drops. I always say 5 drops underneath the tongue, twice a day, those 3 times a week. You wait at least 60 seconds before swallowing. Then you have the area on the head where you're challenged. You put it on there and you massage it to make sure that you're massaging upward to get the blood up into that area a little bit faster. And then that's how you use it there 3 times a week. But when I was diagnosed with CCCA, and I'm sure if you've been on this call before, you know what that is, I was losing mine in the top. And what happened, I panicked and I used it every day. And my daughter said, Mom, you don't supposed to use it every day. I said, oh no, I'm using it every day. Because the one thing we don't guarantee is that it's going to work for everybody. We don't try to diagnose nothing, cure nothing, treat nothing. We just get testimonies from people who are using the product and saying, hey, it worked for me. That's what we use. And I said it got to work for me. It's just no way I could feel comfortable sharing this with information with you every Monday, and it didn't work for me. But it did, but I didn't work it the way it was told. I worked it every day. And
Got my
every
cursor
day.
back.
And it wasn't no microwavable fix. A lot of people get on YouTube University and say, oh, it worked for me. I got my hair back in 2 weeks. Well, hair grows 6 inches a year. So when somebody tells me their hair came back in a week or 2 weeks, I really look at them and like, turn around, let me see if the screw is in the back of your head so I can wind it out.
I
Because
love
I
that.
personally don't believe it.
I love
Okay,
that,
from all the
Dora.
research I've done, I work 1 day a month in a dermatologist's office. I scope heads for her. And when I see something unusual, I'll call her in and ask her, what is this? And, because I want to know, I want to gain the knowledge so I can share it with you. So when you are a consultant, when you become a consultant for Healing Hair Day, you will be equipped with a little more knowledge than what the person sitting next to you have, because you put in the time and you invested in yourself to get the knowledge. And a lot of people won't do that. They won't invest in themselves. So I'm going to make sure you are equipped with enough knowledge to go out there and make some suggestions. And the product we know work. We know the product work. So we know it worked for some. It may not work for all, but I always say give it at least 6 months, not 6 days. And I always tell people, product don't work in the bottle. It does not work on the shelf or in the drawer. And a lot of people will buy the product, you guys, and guess what? They'll use it for about a week or so, and then they'll say, it didn't work for me. No, it didn't, because you didn't work it. So don't be impatient. I always say be patient with the process. It could work for you. Give it the opportunity to work for you. Okay?
Hey, Doris,
Now,
can
I
you
don't
hear
know
me?
whether Kathy's back on,
Can you
and I
hear me?
hate that I can't see.
Can you hear me,
Let me
Doris?
just try to see if I can see the chat just in case
Doris,
you
can
do
you hear
have
me?
a question. Uh, what kind of a life? Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's me. Can you hear me?
I hope you guys were hearing me.
Can
We can. I'm trying to get to the. What can we hear you? Like we can hear you. Okay, great. If you have any questions, put your questions up, and then I can see it when it pop up on the screen. That's me, Kathy. Okay. All right, Kathy. Well, if you can hear me, if there are any questions, any questions? Can you hear me? We can hear you. That's me, Kathy. Okay. I don't see any questions. I can apparently my mic is not working. Okay. That's Kathy. Her mic is not working. I don't see any questions. No questions there are no questions in the chat. I can see that. So hopefully you guys got it today. And I'm going to be tuning out since Kathy can't come in. And I would like to ask that you bring somebody to class with you next week. It is so important that we get this message out, not only to one or two, but to 1 or 2, 3,000s and more. We are ready to, to really get the program started. I'm getting everything in so you guys can get on the list to be among the first consultants. I'm excited about this program. I had one Sunday at a church, and it was over about 20-some people was there. Did great in product sales. The knowledge they got, they were so excited about. So you guys, let's get busy. Let's get started. And let's share the knowledge. So Kathy, I'm going to tune out at this point because there are no questions in the chat. I can see the chat room now. And I appreciate all of you guys.